we need to know what kind of flow we're putting into our business. And for those of us being very woo-woo in this very sensible world, what we're trying to do is make sure that we create optimal flow in all the ways. Welcome to a very, very special edition of Tea Time. I am going to share a video with you this week that comes from one of the orientation courses that I do with my clients inside of the 12-month incubator. It's all about workflows, which I think is a really important concept when we are working on our businesses from a systems and operations perspective. We need to know what kind of flow we're putting into our business. And for those of us being very woo-woo in this very sensible world, what we're trying to do is make sure that we create optimal flow in all the ways. So we create flow in our spiritual lives, but we're also creating flow when it comes to all of the software that we're choosing to use and the way we're delivering our offers to our clients and so forth. This video is meant to give you a framework and an idea of how I teach workflows to my clients and how we work on them over time. What I'll encourage you to do is just sit back, relax, enjoy the show, reflect back to yourself. In what ways are you already doing this? Because a lot of times you already are. And in what ways can you improve upon this and make it a more conscious activity rather than just like that lucky thing that sometimes happens? We want to make this more of an intentional process. Just hang out with me here. We'll continue doing more workflows and systems work like this throughout the year. I'm going to encourage you to look in the show notes below this video and subscribe to my weekly newsletter, because that's where I'm able to share more information about other ways that you can go deeper into this work with me throughout the year. And then you can always come back here to YouTube and you can always work on the foundation aspects whenever it's convenient for you. So with that, thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to hit subscribe and click the little bell to get the notifications. I would so appreciate your likes and comments. Please share with your friends, and I will see you inside your workflows.
The best way that I love teaching my students is through workflows and visualizations. I'm a very visual person, and in all the people I've been working with over the past few years, I haven't met anyone yet who didn't enjoy a good Post-it note discovery session. So if you've done anything with me before, especially with planning, you know that I love me some Post-it notes. And we're going to use Post-it notes again in this example. And so your supply list is Post-it notes of whatever color pack you enjoy. I recommend having at least 4 distinctive colors. If you can find more than that, that's great. I think there's some Post-it packs that come in like 6 different colors or something. But basically make sure it's colors that, you know, agree with you. They jive with you. I know some people who love pastels. I know some people who love really bold, saturated colors. I'm somebody who likes a really saturated color look. And sometimes you just have Post-its on hand and you just kind of use up what you've got. And I've done that too. But you want them to be distinctive colors, and you're going to use a good Sharpie marker so that you can stand back and look at your work and walk through it. You don't have to get up close and try to decipher the pencil markings on your Post-it note. Isn't that a good place to be? And then what else also helps is having a nice big clear wall where your Post-its will actually stick. It can even be a window too. I've seen people do this on like sliding door windows. If you have a large mirror, I'm going to show you a picture of a very like on the fly example workflow I did for my pilot students last fall. And that was in an old apartment that had these large mirrors in a bathroom. And I've also seen people use butcher paper, which is awesome. You can pin the butcher paper up on a wall, and then when you're done, you can roll it up. So if you're in limited space or you know space that's being used by a lot of different people, you can put it up when you're working on it, take it down when you're not working on it. And that way you also don't have to worry about like little ones, precious fingers, maybe getting into your Post-it notes. So that's a really good way to preserve it, especially if you got little kids around. So in this example, I've just taken 4 colors. These are some from my branding colors. I've got blue, green, yellow, and then this like bright cherry red color. So you can choose whatever colors work for you. But in this case, for blue, the blue Post-its are going to denote the action you want your client to take. The green Post-its will be the tool that you need to support the client's action. And this could be a tech tool. It could also be a marketing tool. And so you can start getting into more and more distinctions, right? Yellow is the support you need to make your client's action happen. It could be a class, it could be somebody you hire, but basically support is anything outside of you that's going to help you, but it's not like a tool, like a piece of software. And then the cherry red one is an understanding gap. So I like to use bright colors, usually around red, that denote that there's a breakdown of some sort. So if I'm trying to identify where does something not work, or is somebody trying to exit my workflow, how am I going to mitigate that? How am I going to try to nurture them through the exit process so that they don't exit and go away, but they exit and go dormant, and then I can warm them up again at a later point. So this is sort of, I call it an understanding gap. It's a gap of some sort. And the question really is, what do you need to figure out? There's something that you need to figure out, and that's what you're going to put on that Post-it note. Now, the example that I have here is super, super boiled down so that it would fit on a slide for this presentation and also make it easy to explain. So in real life, your workflow is probably going to be quite a bit longer. And if you find that you're workflowing too big of a process, you'll know pretty quickly. You can, section it off and start workflowing out, say the client attraction process versus the client nurture sequence versus like the client, sales sequence and so forth. So in this case, we're just doing a really simple visualization just so that you can see how this works, especially if you've never really done this before. The guidelines are that you can only put one action or idea per Post-it note. If you're writing a paragraph on your Post-it note, you're putting too much on there. So if you find that you've got more than one thing on a Post-it note, you're going to split them apart into multiple Post-it notes. And this is a really valuable thing to do because a lot of times, just like we mishmash our technology and marketing concepts, we also do the same thing when we're going through our clients' workflow. We pack like 5 things into one tiny little space. And then you can imagine if you're in your client's shoes, I bet they're kind of overwhelmed at that point when they're interacting with you. So this workflow visualization technique can really help you untangle this tragic love story between technology and marketing. We want to make it a happy love story, okay? So the whole time, remember, this is from our infrastructure discussion, we're keeping our ideal client in mind. The question is, where do they meet confusion in your process? And if you're not sure, this is a really good time to pull in ideal client types and interview them. And part of your interview can be, can I walk you through like a potential workflow of how you might find me and go through the steps and like, what would you need? What would be attractive to you in this situation? And they will tell you. So that's a really great tip too. And then what I like to do once I have my final workflow written out is to calculate my financial and time costs. So the question is, does my launch goal, if I'm like, I'm going to launch this thing by April the 1st, and I map it out and I see that that goal does not match up with all the system requirements, all the content that has to be created. So that's my marketing problem. All the system requirements that have not yet been set up, that's my technical problem. And if I see that all of that is going to cost X amount of dollars, and maybe I don't have it yet, or I haven't allocated it properly yet. And in terms of time, like it's, wow, I'm going to have to set up all these different tools and systems. Like I hadn't even thought about that. That is not going to happen in the next week. I need to do this. Need to push that launch date back. Okay. So doing these workflows can really help you stay out of really uncomfortable pickles and also help you launch with less stress, right? And then the next section, we're going to talk about emotional freedom around technology. And we get so stressed out because we don't do this kind of pre-planning work, which is actually a very analog thing, right? But it goes right into our technology. So in this case, we're going to start with our client's workflow, which is right at the top. And that's the easiest thing to put down first on your wall. Just get all your blue Post-its and start with the first thing. And the first thing in our example, our ideal client follows you on Instagram. Yay, they follow you on Instagram. And then right below that, I've got a knowledge gap. And my question is, how do I attract more clients to my Instagram page without an ad budget? That's a really good thing to learn. And I realized, and then I have a yellow Post-it attached to that. On the wall, I might put the yellow Post-it below the red Post-it, but on the slide, it's to the left. And in this case, maybe my resource is that I sign up for a social media education course. Maybe I do that first instead of trying to hire someone to do all my social media. But what does that mean? What does it mean? Do all my social media? And so as I'm building up, I'm naturally attracting ideal client followers on Instagram. That's exciting. And I'm going to answer this knowledge gap question. Well, how do I attract more of them? It will make my workflow over time much stronger. So once that person follows me on Instagram, then you're going to ask, then your ideal client is going to say, go through a 7-day challenge. They're attracted to you because they thought, I'm going to do that 7-day challenge. So they kind of sign up, and they sign up for an email newsletter. And in order to support this 7-day challenge, you're going to need your email newsletter service. And it could be MailChimp, it could be ConvertKit, Aweber, ActiveCampaign. But the question at this point too is, okay, what am I using? So am I already using it? And is it set up properly? If I'm not using it, how long is it going to take for me to set this thing up? And how much is it going to cost? So sometimes we get, tantalized by bright, shiny things. And ConvertKit is an amazing newsletter provider. I love them. But for the longest time, I actually canceled my ConvertKit subscription. And I used MailChimp for free because I had less than 2,000 followers or subscribers on email. And with MailChimp, you can get by with a free subscription for having less than 2,000 subscribers, which is the case for a lot of people for a long, long time. So why spend the extra money when that service might meet your needs exactly how you need it to be met? So there's an example of some of this thought process and strategy. The strategies are changing, right? Now, let's say in the future, you have the same workflow, but your subscribers are like 10,000. This is a completely different workflow at that point. You may not like MailChimp anymore. You might want to go to ConvertKit to use some of the features that maximize, how it is that you're interacting with your clients. So this is where you start adjusting your expectations. So after the person is like, I'm going to do that 7-day challenge, and they sign up for the email newsletters, your ideal client buys your consulting package. They go through the challenge, they get the emails every day, and they're like, that was so amazing. I got so much value. I want to work with you. I want to buy your online class. So in this case, there's quite a few things that you need to account for. Now you'll notice I have bullet points here in the green Post-its, and that is because there's actually more than one thing on this square in the slide for the presentation. In real life, I would turn them into separate Post-its. I need a shopping cart, first of all. I need to be able to give people a place where they can look at what they're buying and hit buy now. I need a scheduling tool, okay? Because they're buying a consulting package in this example. So they need to be able to meet with me online. And then I need some kind of delivery tool. So I need to meet with them, say, through Zoom. You start asking yourself, like, what's the setup for this? Do I already use it? How comfortable am I with it? How much does it cost? Like, what is it that I'm really building out in my baseline infrastructure that's going to help me deliver what I say I want to deliver to my clients through my marketing campaign? So then they buy your consulting package, and then after they do that, they upgrade to a yearly contract. Yay! And now you have another knowledge gap. How do I nurture and upsell this client when the year is done? If your ideal is that your client will go through this funnel and upgrade to a yearly contract, but you don't really know how to get them to upgrade to the yearly contract, there might be some more marketing components that go in that. There might be some more baseline delivery technical components that makes it easier to help deliver that to them. You might need some more help at this point. You might want to sign up for another class or something. This will uncork all these questions, and it's really good to look at the questions. It's really easy to feel a little overwhelmed when you first start. So this is where we take those reminders in mind to be kind to ourselves and take our time with it, okay? You're probably not going to finish a workflow in like an hour. It's not going to happen. You're going to want to take your time. You're also going to want to let it sit for a day or two, even a week or two, and really just keep picking it apart. One of the best things you can do is ask somebody who has nothing to do with your business and ask them to be patient enough for you to walk them through and stand them there and point to the Post-its and walk them through your workflow and explain in detail every single thing. Make sure you find somebody who has the patience for this, okay? If you have somebody in your life who's like, I'm going to tune out, I don't want to hear it. That's not the person for you, okay? So find somebody who is willing to go through that, and they will ask you, well, what does that mean? Well, I don't understand that. Why would a person click here and here and here if they haven't gotten XYZ? And they'll see things that you or your ideal client might not ever see because you guys are like so in it. So this is doing workflows is one of the most powerful ways that you can untangle this web of confusion between what's a marketing cost, what's a technology cost, what requires marketing support, what requires technology support, and it can help you just find more flow and more ease and definitely a lot more emotional freedom. So I promised you a picture. This is a picture of a down and dirty, super fast example I did for my fall pilot students last year. And we dove deeply into workflows. We dove into how to use workflows, how to build them, how to iterate them, and we visualized over and over again. And when I was first teaching them, I threw these up on the bathroom mirror. There was a bathroom attached to my old office space. I had leftover Post-it notes, and I just threw it up there. And then we went through and looked at, how many tools do I have? How much is it going to cost? What's my setup time? And it was very illuminating. And there are Post-its in this workflow that I generalized. So you can see how a workflow can get quite big and complicated very quickly, but it can be so, so useful.